Anime Recap: A powerful warrior becomes a slave, but pretends to be ordinary. Part 14. Gardar was mesmerized by Arnheid's beauty and told her that she looked even more stunning than he had remembered, even though she seemed a little exhausted. He realized that he must be at Ketil's farm since Arnheid was present there. Gardar pondered about how she had been only a few days' walk away from him all this time. Thorfinn and Einar were taken aback to discover that the escaped slave was Arnheid's husband. Gardar inquired about Hjalti's well-being from Arnheid, acknowledging that he must have grown up by now. But Arnheid's face looked sorrowful, and she began to tell Gardar about Hjalti's situation. However, Gardar extended a hand towards Arnheid and suggested that all three of them return home together. Just then, Snake emerged from Sverkel's house with his sword and warned Arnheid not to take Gardar's hand, as it would lead to her forfeiting her life. Fox and Badger caught up to the slave from behind, and Snake quickly killed Gardar's horse by slitting its throat, causing Gardar to fall to the ground. Snake then shouted at Fox and Badger to take Arnheid away from there, as she called out to Gardar. Fox points out the unusual behavior of the escaped slave, noting that he momentarily forgot he was being chased. Snake inquires about the slave's involvement in Lizard's death, and Fox confirms that he had decapitated him. Snake reminds everyone of the importance of preventing Gardar from reaching Arnheid, and emphasizes that they cannot let him do so. Gardar, agitated by Snake's comment, demands to know if he is Ketil. Snake boldly asks what would happen if he is. Gardar threatens him, while Arnheid pleads with him to run away, seeing the danger in his actions. Einar stands up, determined to fight, raising his axe. Thorfinn, however, restrains him, advising him to comprehend the situation before acting recklessly. Einar argues that as slaves, they should understand the importance of Arnheid's freedom, and asks Thorfinn if he does not want her to be free. As Thorfinn's words hang in the air, Einar contemplates the gravity of the situation. He realizes that reclaiming Arnheid's freedom will not be a simple feat, as it requires taking the lives of 3 men. Thorfinn interjects, reminding Einar that he must be willing to take a human life to achieve this goal. He poses the question whether Einar can bear the weight of ending someone's life with his axe. Einar is at a loss, unsure of what course of action to take. Snake acknowledges Thorfinn's words, acknowledging that capturing Gardar alive is his objective, as he needs answers. He orders Thorfinn and Einar to stay back and watch, promising to handle the situation. Gardar, enraged, lunges at Snake, who deftly dodges his attack. Badger warns Gardar of Snake's strength, and Snake takes offense to the warning, questioning Badger's knowledge of his capabilities. The tension builds as Gardar continues to lash out, determined to reclaim Arnheid. Fox suggests they kill Gardar since he's too dangerous to be caught alive, reminding Snake of what happened to Lizard when they tried to do so. Snake dismisses Fox's suggestion, stating that he's just getting started and tells him to stop nagging him. He asks if they were able to land a blow on Gardar, to which Fox admits that they failed to do so. Snake points out that despite his injury, Gardar had defeated all of them and criticizes the other attackers for losing to a single wounded man. Finally, Snake manages to land a hit on Gardar and knocks him down. He commands Badger to tie him up while Arnheid, still restrained by Fox, anxiously asks if Gardar is alright. Fox compliments Snake on his swift action and expresses his excitement about the reward they will receive. Meanwhile, Thorfinn and Einar continue to observe the unfolding events, uncertain of what actions to take. Badger efficiently secures Gardar with tight knots as he screams for Arnheid, who covers her ears to avoid hearing him. Snake commands Fox to assign a team of 5 men to guard Gardar and inform the Karok family of his arrest. Badger mounts his horse and warns Gardar to start moving or risk being dragged. Meanwhile, Snake dismisses Einar's concerns, dismissing his opinion as trivial because he is a slave. Einar argues that it's pitiful and asks if there's any way Gardar could be released. However, Snake insists that letting Gardar go is not an option. He reminds Einar that Gardar killed one of the guests, is suspected of being involved in other murders, and is plotting to murder Ketil and abduct Arnheid, whom Ketil deeply cares for. Snake advises Arnheid to forget about Gardar, as he is no longer her husband, but a deranged slave. Finally, Snake gets on his horse and prepares to leave. Before he departs, he asks them not to concern themselves with the matter any longer, and requests that they care for Sverkel. As Arnheid prepares dinner, Einar grows restless and stands up, but she kindly asks him to sit down as the meal is almost ready. Einar proposes a daring plan to sneak in and rescue Gardar in the dead of night, but Arnheid hesitates, knowing that the consequences could be dire for everyone involved. Einar reminds her that if they do nothing, Gardar will face certain execution. Arnheid calmly explains that sometimes it's best to let events unfold and wait for the storm to pass, rather than risk making things worse. She cares for Einar and doesn't want him to get caught up in the dangerous situation. When Einar questions Arnheid's love for her husband, she assures him that she does love Gardar, despite their arranged marriage. She recalls his kindness and gentleness towards her and their son, and regrets that their fate may be out of their hands. Einar expresses his frustration over their situation and insists that they must take action to free Gardar, even if it means fighting Snake and his men. He believes that they have to fight for their freedom and asks Thorfinn for his support, but Thorfinn remains silent and troubled. Before Einar can continue, Arnheid interrupts and asks to share a story from her past. She speaks of a time when she lived in a peaceful village in Vinland with her family, who were neither rich nor poor. However, a conflict arose when iron deposits were discovered in a forest far away, and different parties fought over control of the resource. Gardar was once involved in a fight after being asked for assistance by his friend. In response, Gardar decided to gather the men of the village for a meeting to discuss whether or not they should participate in the fight. During the meeting, they all agreed to participate in the fight, as they believed they would obtain a source of iron if they won. However, this decision came as a shock to the women of the village, who did not see the need to put their lives at risk for something they did not lack. They were content with their current iron goods and were hesitant to put themselves and their families in danger. On the morning that the men left for battle, Gardar held his son Hjalti and told him that he was going to fight to protect him. Arnheid was surprised by this, as she believed that Gardar should stay by their son's side if he truly wanted to protect him. The young men all left the village, leaving the women and children behind for several weeks. After a while, the women assumed that the men had returned when they spotted ships on the horizon. However, the ships belonged to enemies who had taken advantage of their absence. The enemies burned down their homes, slaughtered the old and captured the women to take them away on their ships. Arnheid shares with Einar and Thorfinn that her son was killed on the day of the battle because unmarried female slaves were considered more valuable. She regrets that none of them would have had to suffer if Gardar and the others had let the conflict pass and stayed home. She then tells them that when she was reunited with Gardar a few hours ago, she was frightened by the transformation in him. He had become like the very storm they had feared and must have gone through a lot of pain to change so drastically. Arnheid adds that this time, she has decided to protect her child from the storms of men. She goes on to say that just the other day, she discovered that she was pregnant with Ketil's child. She is sure that he will welcome the news, as he has been wanting another child for some time. Arnheid is optimistic that she and Ketil will be able to raise their child happily and healthily on their farm. She hopes to provide a peaceful and stable life for her child, unlike the turbulent one she has endured. Arnheid expresses her concern that the current moment is the most critical and urges Einar to avoid any unnecessary conflict. Later that night, Arnheid takes care of Sverkel before gathering some supplies and heading out. As she approaches the door, Sverkel surprises her by mentioning that he thought she would wait out the storm. Arnheid is amazed that he was paying attention, and Sverkel admits that despite his age, he is still alert. Arnheid explains that she wants to tend to Gardar's wounds and asks Sverkel if he thinks it's a mistake to see him again. Sverkel reassures her that she can do whatever she thinks is best and apologizes for not being able to offer more assistance. Arnheid thanks him and promises to return soon. And this brings the anime to an end. Comment for part 15. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.